Hello again, everybody. I'm the coach Shannon Griffith alongside Eric Doot Dukevich. We welcome you to Upon Further Review, a look back at week 7 of the Summit Athletic Conference, as well as the NE8 and other area opponents throughout the Northeast Indiana. Also would like to welcome those listening to us on 1380 The Fan 100.9 FM. If you are joining us via that, we thank you again for tuning in to us. And Eric, another week down, heading into week 8, if we can believe that. I had other duties assigned, so to speak, as I had to attend the Hanover College homecoming weekend with beautiful weather and pretty good football game between Hanover and Mount St. Joe. But nevertheless, it sounds like the Carroll Chargers went into Homestead High School and found a way to win a game that was 10-3 at halftime, I believe, and it was closer than it actually the score would indicate there, with Carroll erupting for 21 fourth quarter points.
Yeah, I think that was the story of the game, was that, for the most part, Homestead was hanging in there in that game out at Walter Stadium on Friday night. They kind of matched Homestead and Carroll. They kind of matched each other punch for punch very early on in that game. But as the night went on, as the game went on, the plays for Carroll got to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, of course, so it was a 10-3 halftime score. But then, those 21 points in the fourth quarter. Jimmy Sullivan, 22 for 33 for 307 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. So another big night for him. And for Homestead, I think was interesting. Michael White he's back in the ball game. He missed the week previous against Snider, but he was back in the lineup as QB1, 12 for 20, 122 yards and a touchdown to Carter Kennedy. But the running game for Homestead, they add the wrinkle of Sam Stewart, the linebacker for Homestead. He gets in the ball game. He's the Purdue commit. He committed to Purdue just before the season started. 11 tackles on defense, but 52 yards of rushing. So you could tell that Homestead is trying to get that running game going in different ways. I think we've seen a lot of those wrinkles added to different teams throughout the SAC in the last several weeks. We talked to Landon Fry a week ago, who was now catching offensive touchdown passes for Snider. And a lot of these teams anyway, the guys go both ways. So it was interesting to see there. But realistically, it was one of those things where late in that fourth quarter, they put it on. Jaden Van Pelt, a great game for him. Sheely brothers were at it again. So it was really a good showing for Carroll on Friday night. That was our Midwest Box Breaks 1380 The Fan Game of the Week out at Homestead. And so it was a great atmosphere, great night for football. Beautiful weather, much better than what it had been the previous 2 weeks. And we really got a good game. I think ultimately Carroll's ability and kind of that leading the way mentality, they're leading the SAC in the A division, that kind of took over late, and they were able to have a big fourth quarter, and the end score didn't really resemble what that game was.
I sneak peeks on Friday as much as I could, or listen to here and there between a dinner and everything like that. But it sounded to me that Brady Road finally got really involved in the offense, and basically statistical wise, he was their leading receiver, 8 receptions for 88 yards. He's such a big target. And I'm not quite sure that Jimmy has found him consistently like he had a year ago. Now there may be a multitude of reasons for that, with teams doubling him and things of that nature. But it looks like this game he had a chance to break out a little bit, as did Juwan Green. And he's the kid that I've always said for Carroll is that extra poundage and speed that they kind of needed in that regard. But sounded like a good game out there at Dave Walter Stadium, and Carroll keeps rolling. The other game that caught my eye was the Battle of the Bishops.
Yeah.
That sounded like a good old-fashioned Dwenger versus Bishop Lures game where they played out behind the barn for a little bit and kind of settled some scores and then decided to play some football. But ultimately, last I heard, I think this was the final 3-0, if I'm not mistaken.
It actually wound up being 8 to nothing. Dwenger 2 field goals by the Dwenger kicker, and then also a safety by the defense. So Lucas Gwynn, we'll throw his name out there, the field goal kicker. 2 field goals in that game, and then they get a safety late. So 8-0, your final in that battle of the Bishops. And it just goes to that mentality we talked about. We talked about it on the PSM High School Football Tailgate pregame show with Jim Shovlin and myself. The previous 3 had been combined been decided by a combined 9 points. Lures had won by a point a year ago. Dwenger by 5 the year before. Lures by 3. Now you add this one, which it was 8-0, but realistically, no touchdowns, 2 field goals and a safety. So the player of the game was definitely Lucas Gwynn from that one, but also too, I think just the defense really from both sides, not just because, Dwenger's never really been able to they've struggled most of the year in trying to get things going with the offense. And they can't, score in that regard again too. But Lures, a couple weeks in a row now for Lures where it's been those close games. We saw also North Side and South Side, a 6-0 totem pole game. So really some interesting scores across our area, particularly in the SAC. But this is that time of year where we start seeing that separation of the teams and people and teams getting closer to conference championships.
Well, yeah, and I guess we could say for pretty much everything involved now since Lures has been knocked off is that it's Carroll's to take advantage and finish up the season and become the overall Summit Athletic Conference with champions with no ties. Now, that all can change if they were happen to stumble, but I would think they've got their part and got cleared their last maybe hurdle here prior to going into the season. But next week, I mean, again, Carroll will have to get by Northside is a team that's kind of quote unquote scary dangerous at times. Next week that's probably the top game in the area as it pertains to the SAC. The Snider Wayne is always a team that can always cause people problems, and they usually do. So we're getting to that point now where teams are starting to gear themselves up for the tournament as we approach these last few weeks. And I would say, like I said, Carroll with a firm firm lead at 5-0 overall in the conference, and Snider and Lures are there behind at 4-1. But we'll discuss that a little bit later, and every other score of the area from last Friday night. But I'm going to let you introduce our first guest of this evening, as we've got 2 young men again joining our fray tonight from Busco and from Heritage a little bit later. So, Mr. Dukevich, you do the honors, young man, because you're the one that does all this stuff, and I don't want to take that from you.
It's a team effort. And and I think to set it up, we talked about the SAC, a lot of great games in the NE8. I mean, we'll talk about East Noble, Columbia City later. NECC, what we're seeing there, and those conference races. Busco wins. They clinch their small division. We'll be joined here momentarily by Angelo Ianucilli from the team, and we'll make sure we get the pronouncer on his name right when we bring him in, because that's a big part of it. And then later on, we'll have Braden Walter from Heritage High School. Big step for Heritage in beating Bluffton last week. So it's going to be a great show. So stick around for all those interviews. But I think at this point we'll go ahead and bring on our first guest tonight, representing the Churubusco Eagles, the NECC small champion Churubusco Eagles. We have Angelo. Angelo, just so we get it right here on radio, on video, on audio, say the last name for me too.
Ianucilli.
Ianucilli. Okay. Yeah, so that's great to have you on here tonight on Upon Further Review. Well, first of all, conference champions again. I mean, Friday night for you guys, the now 4-0 in conference in the small division. You clinch the division. Just talk about first time in since 2018. Talk about kind of this season. I know it's kind of a rough start for you guys, but here you are now. Just talk about winning conference again and really how good this team is feeling right now.
Yeah, we're feeling pretty good. The season was rough, the 0-3 facing Columbia City, Lakeland, and then Garrett. It's kind of a gauntlet the first 4 weeks, including Eastside. Going into Eastside, we knew we had to execute and do our jobs, and if we wanted to win the game and set ourselves up for a championship run. And we've been saying all year we know we have a championship team, and we kind of just showed that after going 0-4 in conference. Sure.
Talk about this team this year. A lot of different, you're a senior, and to build it back to this point, I know there's kind of been some struggles the last couple of years and things that have not turned out, maybe that what we've come to know, so to speak, out of Busco football. But this year, just talk about what this team has been able to build and Coach Shade and what you guys are doing there that has really kind of found your footing again in conference play and the ability to find yourselves where you guys are.
Well, last year we didn't really have that good a team chemistry, and this year the team captains, me, David Salazar, Weston Knott, and Brody Lawrence, we all just kept the team together and made sure that everyone had the right mindset going into conference play so that we could pull out a championship run. And really just once we beat Eastside, we were done with Eastside. We were on to the next week and then on to the next week. We just had to execute each week to be able to build back after those long 6 years.
Sure. You're a two-way player, as we see there on your player profile. Offense and defense, just under 90 yards of rushing a game, 4 touchdowns this year. Defensive side, 40 tackles, a couple sacks in there, some turnovers that you've forced. That element as a two-way school, we mentioned it towards the top of the show, a lot of two-way players, the way that coaches throw the wrinkles in. For you, just talk about doing both sides of the ball and really where do you feel like you shine the most? What's your favorite part of the game of football? Just kind of talk me through that a little bit.
I feel like I shine more at running back than I do linebacker, but I don't know. I kind of like defense more because I just like to hit people sometimes. And yeah, I just like to, I'm a bit of a trash talker too.
Well, that sounds like a true wrestler mentality as well, because that's what you also do besides play football. And, that's the beauty that you also play third sport too. You do track, right? So yeah. You're a 3-sport athlete. Have you done that your entire time there at Busco?
I wrestled all through middle school, and then I started track in 8th grade, and I've done football since the youth program in 4th grade. I didn't wrestle my freshman or sophomore year, and I wrestled last year. But I've done track all through high school too.
Good to see you. That's good. I mean, I think it's important, especially for kids like you at, the smaller schools, especially 3-sport athletes are invaluable in the sense that you guys are the ones that make things happen year in, year out, and you take it seriously as well as your studies. And I think you guys serve as role models in the hallways, throughout the Busco and everything, especially a school like Busco that it's, a smaller school and everybody's kind of grown up together in that regard. Looking ahead here, what is the thought process now heading into these final weeks and getting to that point of, getting ready for the tourney? What is that process looking like for Busco as we head down the stretch here?
Just take it week by week. We know we have West Noble this week, and we all know
Big
that they're
one.
a good team.
Yeah.
And then we have Fairfield. Fairfield's always solid. And then just going into the tournament, just executing and getting better each week so that we can have hopefully a decent run or a long run in the tournament.
Are you guys at Busco? I mean, at West? We must have lost him there for a second. Here he comes, trying to. There he is. He came back in.
I got him here. Yep.
Whoops.
That's all right. Hey,
it happens.
Yeah. Where are you guys at West Noble this weekend?
We're at West Noble.
Yeah. Talk about that. The challenges that presents. I mean, Seth Pruitt, I'm sure the film study has been a lot on him, and just before the film study and knowing the several years that you've been able to play that team, that type of team, that type of wear down, especially for somebody, for you guys that play both ways. Just talk about the challenge that presents, and really just how good the NECC overall is week to week, the teams that you guys play, and this one being the next challenge for you guys.
Oh yeah, every team in the big school is really solid, and Pruitt's really good, and it's more. Well, obviously, like, we're trying to win and stuff, but it's also like, if we don't, it's more being able to stay healthy for the next week when we play those like better and bigger opponents. But obviously, the end goal each week is to win the football game.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So what's next for you? You're a senior. You wrestle, you play football, you run track. I mean, is athletics in your future, or kind of what's next for you once you turn that tassel at the end of the May and get ready post high school?
My plan is just to go into the workforce, learn a trade, get my life started. I'm not a big fan of school, to be honest. I just want to get it over with.
Just the athletics part, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Talk real quick, Busco on a Friday night when you're up there. No matter, like I said, it's been some lean years up there the last couple of years, but we've been to games up there. Just talk about that environment and what it's like to play for that community. Everybody comes out and supports. It's a really old school, so the community has been there a long time to support. It's a small school. The old shutting down of town before, leading in, and, we hear about all the stuff with, the turtle and all that stuff. But being a part of that Busco community, what is it like on Friday nights playing up there in Turtletown?
It's amazing. My favorite place to play, like, ever. Everyone's like, the whole town just comes behind you and like supports you. Against Central Noble, we had our youth program recognition night. The middle schoolers and the youth kids came out, and they all got to sit at the end of an end zone. And Bryce Lawrence scored his punt return, and he went over and gave all of them high fives. And we know that they look up to us, and we want to just be the best role models we can for them and anyone coming up, and just make our community proud.
Absolutely. Well, you guys have made this community proud. You guys are small champions of the Northeast Corner Conference. First time since 2018 that the Churubusco Eagles have been able to call themselves conference champions. So congratulations to you. And, team, I think you guys started off 0-3, I think it was. Now to flip things around, to be undefeated in your small division and win again. A lot to be proud of, a lot to play for, and we certainly wish you the best the rest of the way, and good luck to you in your future.
Thank you for having me on the show.
All right,
Angelo.
Thanks, you,
buddy.
Angelo. Yep, Angelo Ianucilli from Churubusco High School. Great to be on with him, and Coach, I had heard a lot about him because they're getting Churubusco just outside of Fort Wayne in the NECC small division. Busco, the history that they've had. I think of Mathewson from a few years back. They called him the Busco Bus, and I think went on to play at San Francis. So you hear a lot of the running game and that sort of attack from Paul Sade and that has found success. So it's really cool to see Churubusco kind of turn things around during the season. This was not something that, they started off pretty But like he mentioned, that tough schedule is really helped them, and the bigger schools helps those smaller schools in their division, but also too as they look ahead to the postseason.
Well, first of all, Angelo had a great Italian name, didn't he? I was just going to ask him what's some of his
That's
favorite.
why I wanted him to pronounce it, so that way we just get that. We just hear it the way it's supposed to.
He may come hurt you, the wrestler side of him. No, it's a tribute to the kids. I mean, when you open up 0-3 in a small town, I'm sure they hear the talk. And and those that are not familiar with the schedule that they play in some respects are probably ignorant to the point that they were playing up and not down in terms of who they were playing. But the kids kept their minds focused, and Coach Said is a good coach, and he does a lot of good things there at Busco and has over the years. And they're always a team that the community gets behind. I think all in their community, not just football, they get behind. But, it's good to see them have success. It's good to see that they came out of that 0-3 start and got themselves in a position where they got on a run. And when you get on a run, there's a lot of things that can happen in a positive light. And that's what's happened. And I'm sure they'll give West Noble all they can handle Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And we pulled up the schedule here on the video side of things for upon further review. And you could see, I mean, the first 3 weeks, Columbia City, Lakeland, Garrett, then they move into their conference slate. Well, Garrett counts too. But the way that the NECC breaks it up too is the games that count in their conference are your division games. So the SAC, they count them all top to bottom, whoever you play, and then you're separated in the divisions.
Right.
And the NECC, they only count so they win Eastside. I mean, Eastside had been 5-time back-to-back repeating NECC small division champions. And Busco was the last team to do it before Eastside. And so they get into conference play. Prairie Heights had a really good season so far this year with their ability. Fremont is one of those teams that kind of still finding their way, in Central Noble, a down year again for them. But ultimately, like, you play who's in front of you, you play the conference that you have, and ultimately, whatever the conference is, whatever school size you're playing, Coach, you've been there, done that, especially on the football side of things. Winning championships, conference championships, are significant no matter what the conference is and no matter who you beat to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's it takes a lot of hard work to win games. Winning is never easy. If you want to lose, it's pretty simple to lose a game, but winning is hard, and it doesn't matter, like you said, who you're lining up against every Friday night. Ultimately you have to score one more point than them, irregardless of their record or who else is across from you. And that's what they've been able to do here on this last half of the season, where they've gotten themselves off to a run. Their offense got going. Their defense started, playing talent that was similar to theirs. I mean, when you line up and play Garrett, Columbia City, you're talking some really good, talented teams there. And I'm sure they learned a lot playing against them, and then they were able to make the adjustments that they needed to make them better. And that's why they're at where they're at. And it's good to see for Busco to have that opportunity to have a group that, wins another conference championship.
Yeah, 8 points in the first 2 weeks, 106 in the last 4. So they've got things cooking up there. 4-3 overall, 4-0 in the small division. They've clinched the division for the first time in 6 years. So congratulations to them, and thank you to Angelo for coming on once again. And we'll see what comes of Churubusco in the weeks to come. And yeah, they'll be at West Noble on Friday. That's a big game out of division, but certainly a lot of bragging rights there when any of those teams match up. So we appreciate him coming on. Well, Coach, from that one, we'll talk a little bit more about the ACAC. A bit, a tight race up there with Adams Central leading the way, but also too, Heritage and Bluffton have kind of hung around there, and a big one last Friday night. One of the surprising games in the sense that I take credit. I called the upset of Heritage over Bluffton. I called it that just by virtue of where things kind of stood, but they go on the road 51-20, coach. The Heritage beats Bluffton, and an impressive victory there. And that was the surprising point. The spread on that final, especially down at the Tiger Den in Bluffton, did not see that part of it coming.
Well, when we saw Heritage play Woodland, I thought they were a team that could ultimately challenge Adams Central, because I thought they presented some mismatch problems. And, they kind of got sidetracked in that game, but they come back and play a Bluffton team that most people would have thought Bluffton was probably the early on favorite just by record alone. And they found a way to go down into hostile territory and get a win. And sometimes it's better to play those teams that are quote unquote ahead of you on the road as opposed to at home, because you have less distractions. You have, you're not tuning into what maybe is happening in the crowd as much, but your focus is more on the team at hand. And good for them. They had themselves ready to play, and they got a huge win over Bluffton. And now they got to hope and pray that Bluffton can go to Adams Central and create chaos for a three-way tie potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be where it is. And I think that's a good way to one of the big contributors all season long, and we're going to bring them in now from the Heritage Patriots, is Braden Walter, another two-way player, and we'll go through his list of accomplishments momentarily. But Braden, first of all, thanks so much for joining us here tonight, representing Heritage on Upon Further Review.
Yeah, no problem. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, let's talk about Friday night. I mean, we kind of laid it out there, the big win, going down to Bluffton at the Tiger Den and pulling out that 51-20 victory. Wow. I mean, what was cooking for your team on Friday night to come out of there, not only with the win in such a hostile environment, but the way that you guys were able to do it?
I mean, yeah, we had a good game plan. We were prepared for this game, and we went out there, we executed. I thought that was definitely one of the best games we played this year. We thought we had some good matchups. We just executed really well on Friday, so that was definitely good to see. And yeah, we gotta we're hoping they can do something down at AC in the coming weeks. So, but yeah, we took care of business Friday, and that was really good to see.
Sure. Talk about the business that we've seen at Heritage. I mean, a new coach comes in, Jeremy Hollinger, a long-time assistant, played there 18 years, finally gets his chance. Coach Kolkman had a lot of success there in the last couple of years to kind of prime all of that. A new coach comes in and you kind of go, well, what's going to happen here? You guys have just not only picked up where you left off, but you've advanced that. Just talk about the growth of this program and really how everything kind of all fits together over at Heritage.
Yeah. So, Coach Hollinger, we're keeping most of the culture that Coach Kolkman laid. Like, he laid the foundation. At least since I was a freshman, that's the culture that I've been a part of for 4 years now. And Coach Hollinger hasn't changed much of that. So we think that's good. We trust Coach Hollinger a lot. He's done a great job so far. But he hasn't made any major changes that it wasn't really that hard to adjust to, besides a few minor tweaks and such, like with the offense and all that. But we really trust him. We think he's doing a great job, and we all ride for him. So yeah.
You're a two-way player. We talked to Angelo from Churubusco. We talked to Landon Frost. I mean, two-way plan, especially you guys at a 3A school, you have to do it. It's incredible what you've been able to do. You just set the interceptions record for career for Heritage, but from the offensive side, I mean, it's refreshing really to see what Heritage is able to do, and you're a big part of that. Just talk about that aspect of it, of playing both ways, and how everything for both sides of the ball has really kind of clicked, and it's a lot of the same guys I noticed too on the stat sheet on Max Preps come Saturday morning. Just talk about this team and the growth that you guys have experienced together, particularly on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of experience now. We got a lot of seniors on the team, and being a two-way guy, it's kind of new for me. I played a little bit of offense last year, but not to the extent that I am now. So it's definitely been fun. I really enjoy playing both ways, but it took some getting used to. But yeah, I mean, we got a lot of talent in our seniors, upperclassmen, and we got some younger guys stepping up, making plays. I love our team. We're a lot of fun guys to be around. A lot of great chemistry within the locker room, and everyone does their job. It's a really fun team.
Yeah, Braden, wide receiver wise, you guys may have one of the better duo setups with yourself and Litchfield on the outside. He runs about 6'7", 6'6", or something of that nature.
Yeah, he's a beast. There's not a lot of people we play against who can cover someone of his size and his speed. Like, his hands are great too, and we like that matchup that we get most of the time with him. Our coach likes to use him as a puzzle piece. He shifts him around all the time, whether it's playing tight end on the line blocking or outside,
right,
getting him outside at receiver to get him on some of the shorter corners that we're going to play against. Like, he can really do it all, and we have a lot of faith in him.
Now let me ask you this. Did he play last year as well?
Yeah.
I just, for whatever reason, when we had you guys, I just couldn't place him.
Mm-hmm.
And when we saw you guys play against Woodland, that's kind of what I was thinking about the weapons that you guys had offensively, because you had yourself and, Litchfield in different scenarios, and how, like you said, coach can move the pieces of the puzzle around, that I felt overall in the conference potentially created mismatch problems. And then you add Nick Martin to the fray, who runs very hard, got 784 yards on the year, averaging 8.3 yards a carry, which is crazy. You can see where you guys as a whole got some weapons there that, things go your way. Who knows what could happen?
Yeah. Zeke. I mean, Zeke and Nasir's he's new this year. He didn't play last year, and he was just hit the ground running. Like, he came in day one. He's blazing fast. He is incredibly fast. He's just natural. He's just a natural football player. Honestly, I wish he could have been playing all 4 years. But yeah. And then Zeke, he's had some experience now. He was playing tight end last year too, but he's definitely taken a step up this year, and he's just a beast now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, you guys have got a talented offense that can give opposing teams some fits based upon what they want to try to do. It's hard to take one away in terms of trying to shut one down, because you guys complement each other with a running back that, like you said, is fast. I mean, legitimate fast. So, it's, you got to hope that things go your way with Bluffton. Now that you beat them, you probably said, now do us a favor, beat Adams Central. But no, I think you guys got a team this year that who knows what could happen if you guys get hot, and we've seen it happen before, with the talent that you guys have offensively, because you guys can pretty much score at will when it comes to things going right, and you guys are on a tear. So that's one observation I have. Now, what other sports are you involved in?
This year I'll be playing basketball, and then in the winter, and then in the spring I'll be doing volleyball and track as well.
Volleyball and track. So you're going to double duty it. Instead of a 3-sport athlete, you're a 4-sport. Okay, which one is your favorite?
Of those other 3, football is my favorite.
Right. But
of those other 3, I don't know.
Well, I know you're pretty good in track, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you had some records, didn't he? He established a record there in the the 100
champion in the long jump and the 100-meter dash. I'm right on that, Braden, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I did see that. Yeah, so wow, I mean, that helps. I'm sure that has played a big role in what you've been able to do on the football field and some of the other sports as well. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Another conference champion that we have here in some sprints.
Yeah, I the thing I like about playing these other sports is that it really helps my athleticism. Like I can definitely see like my speed from track is definitely translated onto the football field. And it's just I feel like I build so much from doing these other sports. It really helps out on the football field, and everything helps out with each other. And track is definitely one of the main reasons I can be the player I am on the football field.
Absolutely. We almost need another full screen for all your guys. Homecoming King too, right? So how do you campaign for to get Homecoming King? I've always been curious on. I mean, did you put like the posters up around the side of the school, or what? How does that all work? But to represent heritage in that way, your senior year Homecoming King, that's got to be pretty special.
Yeah, that was nice. I mean, I wasn't really campaigning that much for it. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to win or not. It wasn't.
Now, is that the actual picture? What, Dude's doing some extra research now. Is that your girlfriend too?
That's my girlfriend. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Shout out to the
homecoming
young lady. Yeah. You're sitting there all sweaty and stinky, and she's in a beautiful dress. I bet she appreciated that.
Yeah. Oh, that was pregame, so I wasn't too bad.
Heritage does it smart. They do it.
They do.
That was before.
Of course, then you guys ride around in the parade, and everybody gets hot and sweaty anyway. So there you go. No, that's great. Well, that and what's her name?
That's Libby.
Libby. All right. So I thought I'd throw that up there. Yeah. So the homecoming couple. So King and Queen. Hopefully she doesn't get mad at us for showing that. But I know she's a great athlete at Heritage too. I think played soccer and
did she?
So anyway, awesome. But that's what it's all about. But so that kind of, let's put a button on this. Your time at Heritage, playing again, a great community that comes out and supports. You guys have found some success. You guys have found success in basketball. I know you guys have a really good, pretty decent baseball team there as well, and track and some of the other sports. Volleyball coming up, a new sport in Indiana in the IHSAA for boys. What are you going to remember your time most? And what is it, you'll take away from being a Heritage Patriot?
I mean, football is probably what I'll remember the most, but it's been really fun, as being an athlete of not one of the crazy huge schools around the area. It was nice being able to come in my younger years and just be able to try out all the sports that I wanted to do, and being able to play all of them has been really fun. It's made me build a lot of relationships with coaches and players and people who maybe I wouldn't know if it weren't for that. So that's probably who I'll remember the relationships the most that I built with all my friends I made through athletics. And I built a lot of good relationships there.
There you go. Well, Braden, it was a pleasure to talk to you tonight, and congrats on everything that you've been able to accomplish personally and as a team so far this year and throughout your 4 years at Heritage. And I certainly see you a lot all the time: basketball, track, football, and volleyball. And I know we'll be hearing more from you to come the rest of your senior year. Best of luck the rest of the way, and I'm sure we'll hear more from you as the season progresses.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All
All
right.
right, Braden, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, that was Braden Walter, the senior two-way player, wide receiver and cornerback, and ACAC track champion, member of the newly established volleyball team, also plays basketball, and the homecoming king, and his girlfriend was the homecoming queen. So there you go.
He's
It's like
a young man.
Peter and Zach Morris wrapped into one. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if he knows what that means, so I thought I'd take him offline before I say what that. But anyway, no, that's a good thing. But yeah, no, a lot of success there, and really, you see it from this team, and they've we've talked to Coach Hollinger before, and a fiery guy, and those guys, they love to play for guys like that. Kolkman, Hollinger, Dean Clairman, who's been on the staff. He's more a little soft-spoken guy, but he's a guy that can get after it too. And a lot of those guys that are out there, Dan Wasilic, the new defensive coordinator out there. And so, it's really cool to see, because like we said, that is one of those communities where generations go through that school, and I'm sure that there's other Walters names on the board and on different things, because I'm sure that his family has probably gone through there and all of that. But it's cool to see what Heritage is able to do and continue to do with just that little bit of momentum that they have triggering through the years.
Yeah, I mean, they're similar to the Buscos of the world, and Adams Central. That whole conference is really unique in that way that you have a lot of, I think all of them are one-town community high schools. They're the only one in that area high school wise, and you get a community like Heritage or even Bluffton. You can just go right down the line. That is Friday nights are big. They're big in the town, whether it's basketball, football, whatever it may be. I mean, that is the thing to do on Friday nights. So definitely a team, like I said, may come up short as it pertains to the ACAC, but overall, they're a team that, if they can get on a tear, they can go as far as they want. I mean, you look at their statistics, they're just, points and points allowed. I mean, they're only giving up 94 points or 95 points total on the year, which is pretty darn good when you think about, Adams Central there is only giving up 55. So they get on a run. They've got some talent in their roster. They've got many ways to attack you from an offensive perspective. And if they can do things and not turn the ball over and, things of that magnitude, they've got every opportunity in front of them.
Yeah. I mean, in the adversity that you're going to face too, I mean, you're walking into a buzzsaw when you're playing Adams Central, and they were able to kind of hang around with them in the first half of that game. And then Adams Central kind of open things up in that second half. But, going on the road to a place like Tipton, you don't know a lot about, because you don't play them. If I remember correctly, and don't quote me, I feel like that was the first time those two teams had ever met. And then Bluffton is the same way. What you're getting out of Bluffton. How hard they play and how good of a team, and the role that they had been on leading up into that. I think, back-to-back sectional champs and also 9 of their last 10 games or something of that nature, a top 5 team in Class 2A. And just to go on the road and put it on them, I mean, that was very impressive. And they've been able to build this team, and 9-2 a year ago, Coach. And, they're sitting pretty. But that sectional that awaits too is a big one, because with Lures moving up to Class 3A, Mississinawa sitting at 7-0, Delta, is a very good team. And team like Oak Hill, they have a challenging schedule and they can sneak up on you. So, there's a lot of football to be played for Heritage yet with the 2 remaining games. They have Southern Wells on this Friday on the 11th, and then finish up the regular season at Jay County, both home games. So, Braden gets 2 senior nights, basically. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just tease him there. But it's the grind of the conference. But there again, that grind of the conference gets you ready. And so and I think they played Lures in that scrimmage. And so they've seen Lures this year, and so that makes some added storylines come sectional time that this could be a fun one. And just looking back at their tournament history, 2012, the last time they won a sectional. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves because there's several weeks to go before that point. But I think it just goes to show that Heritage has come on the scene as a real deal. And I think looking back about 3 years ago, Casey Kolkman won the Colts Coach of the Year. And the Colts were out there and gave the check to the school and all of that. And he, they had beaten South Adams, and the next step was to get into, so they were taking those steps all along. So this is not an overnight success. This is not just, this is program building that they've been able to keep everything moving along. And it's really cool to see because you need that at schools like that, those one town, or, you could throw 2 in there for Hoagland and Monroeville and those places out there in Eastern Allen County that make up Heritage. But yeah, it's cool to see. And they're a really solid team. They
proved that after the loss to Adams Central, rebounding to go on the road and win a couple of games that, they could have, not rebounded from and gone to, play Tipton at Tipton, which is not an easy place to go play. They win there 21-7, and then go to Bluffton to play there, which is not an easy place to play either, and win 51-20. So that there tells me how focused the team is, and they rebounded from a tough loss, and they were able to put it back together and get themselves back on track. So, like I said, they've got everything in front of them as it pertains to what they, with the tourney and everything of that magnitude. It's just that you got to hit it rolling and playing your best football. And I think that is Heritage. They're going to be playing their best football.
Yeah. 21-6 Heritage led Bluffton at the end of the first quarter. For that game, Eli Tagulis, we'll mention him real quick, 12 of 14 for 154 yards and 3 touchdowns. We easily could have interviewed him tonight. Lucas Weber, 120 yards on the ground with 2 rushing touchdowns. Braden had 2 on the ground for 140 yards, and then one of a receiving touchdown. So 3 on the night. Just specifically, we don't want to forget to mention that aspect of it. So, and then on the defensive side of the ball, just really good outing for all those guys from what they're able to do. So we appreciate Braden coming on and wish him the best of luck in the future and the weeks to come. Well, Coach, that probably leads us to looking ahead to next week. Now that we've kind of put week 7 in the rearview mirror, looking on at week 8 and a full slate of games for this Friday night across Northeast Indiana. With conference races kind of being decided and some big matchups to come. Let's start in the SAC. Top of the list, the game that we'll be at for our Midwest Box Breaks game of the week on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM from Spooler Stadium. It's Bishop Dwenger at Snider. Another throw out the records kind of game in the A division, Coach. Dwenger, 2-game winning streak. Snider back to kind of that Snider form. This could be a really solid game out at Spooler.
Yeah, and like I said, the Summit City is wrapped up in Carroll's hands to the most part. Snider is getting their minds ready to play the tourney, And I'm sure they're still working on some things that they will try to utilize against a Bishop Dwenger team that got a win. And that was most important aspect of things. So I really, think from that standpoint, you're going to see a team like Dwenger that renewed confidence. That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to become down to renewed confidence, and we'll see what they bring to the table to play the Panthers on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Snider won the last 3 and 4 of the last 5 in this matchup. Couple years in there, these two teams have played in the sectional play. Of course, with Snider moving up to 6A, that will not happen this year. And Dwenger's back in 4A, so they're in 2 separate classes now. We got the Calhoun Street Brawl, or the Battle of Calhoun Street, however you want to call it these days. Bishop Lures travels up Calhoun to Southside, coach. And Southside picks up their first win 2 weeks ago against Concordia, follows it up with a tough loss to Northside in the totem pole game. Lures, they get the 8-0 loss to Dwenger. So, a rebound game mentality, I would think, for the Knights come Friday.
Yeah, I think you get to that point where you get measured and you give up a tough loss to a team that you were thinking that you had the best chance to win it, and you come up short. And so it now gives them a chance to refocus and get themselves right. Southside is definitely improved some because of what we've seen the last couple of weeks. So it's not going to be a walk in the park for them. And so that will be an interesting game to keep an eye on.
Yeah, 11 straight by my count that Lures has beaten Southside. And it's still a building process for the Archers. And Lures is very much in that SAC championship hunt as well. Northside travels to Wayne. This is another intriguing matchup. Northside, some lean a couple of weeks on the scoring side of things. Wayne, wow. Really big game from Kamar Nelson a week ago. We saw a great play from Harold Mack. We saw a great play from Jake Sheeran Jr. from in their game against Concordia. This one could be maybe one of the better games on the calendar, just by virtue of it doesn't cross like, oh man, this team is definitely going to dominate this other team. It's one of those kind of a toss-up game, I guess you could say, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, these teams are now in a position where they want to get themselves mentally and physically right heading into these last few weeks, and then make sure that they're playing their best overall football heading into the tourney. So you're going to see a lot of that over the next few weeks. And, that's the thing with a team like Northside that's going to try to, put themselves in the best position each and every week to win. And whether it's 6-0 like they did this week, or, 28-17, they're trying to put themselves in the best place to get W's.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, Northrop at Carroll. I think this one, real simply, Carroll will be all over that one. But to Northrop's credit, they've been able to find that connection of Callison to Jamari Brown the last couple of weeks. That's proved dividends for them. But I think Carroll rolls in that. And then Homestead at Concordia. Homestead proving that they're a lot better than what the early part of the season started. Concordia continues to struggle. But that's, a good thing I think that it should be a good game out there at Zollner Stadium. Looking over at the NE8, the big one, coach, real quickly, Leo at Columbia City. Wow. Columbia City goes to East Noble and gets steamrolled a week ago. Now they play Leo. Are we in this hangover, or is a hangover something to watch for?
Well, remind me of what happened with Columbia City, and they beat East Noble, right?
East Noble won 35-14. It was 35-0 at half. Running clock to start the second half. Dylan Crail, another big game. We had him a few weeks ago upon further review. Riley Brittle, Borders.
Gotcha.
They were really now they've got the one loss. And actually, East Noble, I think, controls the own destiny because they're the undefeated team. And now Leo plays Columbia City. So I think they were trying to play, there's a lot of different ways you can cut it up, but you got Leo Columbia City, Leo riding high, even after that loss to Columbia City or East Noble a few weeks ago. Leo didn't lose much steam, and they're still rolling. I mean, now Columbia City has to come back and play a very talented Leo team.
Yeah, I think what that game proved to me is, and the reason why I asked you to refresh my memory, Max perhaps has not updated the NE8 standings. Okay. So it's still showing Columbia City in front. We thought that game for Columbia City was going to be a real tough game based upon what we had seen from East Noble playing Snider when we had them earlier and what they were capable of, because they were, pretty good on both sides of the ball. So, we're going to find out what Columbia City's made of, and we're going to find out what Leo's made of at the same time, because both of these teams do not want to have another loss. Heading into the final weeks of the season.
Yeah. East Noble 5-0, Columbia City 4-1, Leo 4-1 in conference. All three of those teams 6-1 overall. Yeah. East Noble's loss was to Snider out of conference. Whereas they've beaten both Columbia City and Leo. Those were the one losses in conference for them, was to East Noble. So moving on there, East Noble, the conference leader right now, trying to at least, I guess, clinch a share at this point against New Haven on the road. I think this one bodes well for East Noble. New Haven gets their first win against Belmont a week ago, 50-9. But playing East Noble, even at home, is not the same as playing Belmont on the road.
No, yeah, right. I mean, East Noble right now is rolling, and I don't look for them to have any trip ups here for the next couple of weeks.
Norwell Huntington North, a game that might be a little bit more intrigue now. Huntington North comes off the loss from Leo a week ago, but really manages to get 20 points on Leo. We talked about their ability to score. They were averaging in the 30s, heading into that game, and they put up a good fight. Norwell found a little bit of footing halfway through the season, got some big wins, and they're sitting at 2-3. So that should be a fun one. Huntington hosting, I think the edge goes there. And then Belmont, DeKalb to wrap out the NE8. Belmont continues to struggle. I think DeKalb wins convincingly here with all the running game that they have. And that's your NE8 slate. Moving on to the ACAC, the big one in that conference, Bluffton and Adams Central. This Adams Central can wrap things up, I think, at this point for the ACAC crown. There are some mathematical games, but Bluffton trying to bounce back themselves. It's going to be a tall order, especially when you go to Monroe.
Yeah, they're going to have to play awful well to beat a Adams Central football team that, just like we said, reloads. And I think Garrett is the real deal in terms of a football team. And that was their week one slip up.
Yeah. Other games in the ACAC, Southern Wells travels to Heritage. Heritage should roll in that one, take care of business. Woodland and South Adams, that should be a good one. Woodland on a 3-game winning streak. How about that? They put it on Prairie Heights on Friday. South Adams trying to hang in there as well. Jay County, the out-of-conference game with LaPel in Portland. NECC action, we talked to Angelo early on. Churubusco, the small champions, travels to West Noble for a big out-of-division matchup. It's going to be all Seth Pruitt all the time. That's going to be the task for Churubusco to stop. And can they do it? Because you know the way it's going to be. Angola goes to Garrett. Go ahead, Coach. Did you have something?
No, go ahead. Keep going.
Sorry. Angola at Garrett. Garrett, leader in the clubhouse. Congrats to them. They just completed their 1,000th career game in the school history. That's cool. Angola surging at the right time, too, getting some big wins. east side at Central Noble, they've kind of righted the ship there. Central Noble continues to struggle. Lakeland at Fairfield, big points, big numbers from Lakeland. They've struggled to get those wins against some of the bigger teams, but the great team there. And Prairie Heights at Fremont. Prairie Heights having a great season. I look for them to bounce back against Fremont. Well, that's the latest from week 8 as we look ahead. Coach, we'll again be out at Spooler Stadium for Bishop Dwenger and Snider in our Midwest Box Breaks high school football game of the week. The PSM high school football pregame show starts at 6, kickoff at 7. Then, of course, the Pizza Hut scoreboard show immediately after the game at the Pine Valley Pizza Hut. For all of us here tonight at the Upon Further Review, for the coach, I'm Eric Dudkevich. Have a great Friday night of football games, and we'll see you right here next week on Upon Further Review.